I love working with men to help them find their own voices, because I feel as a society we've taken the voices away from men when it comes to how they feel, and they're allowed to feel like happy, hungry, and angry. And that's kind of like their public displays of emotions. What does it feel like when you feel frustrated? What does it feel like when you feel overwhelmed? How do we communicate? What are the triggers that make you feel overwhelmed? And then how do we use positive psychology to bring down your cortisol levels, to bring down your stress levels, to make sure you don't get to a point of burnout? Because unfortunately, if you look at the mental health, and men often opt out of life before they put their hands up and say, I'm not coping. How do we create workplaces where men feel safe enough to go, this is too much, I need help, versus I'm just going to keep going until I can't keep going anymore?
Hi everybody, Gavin Coyle, I'm the Gaffer. We are back with a great guest today. Hacia Atherton is Australian born but living in the States, and I'm really looking forward to this particular episode. We're back to leadership, we're back to culture, we're back to behavioral leadership, but also behavioral aspects within the business, how to see the signs of weakness, maybe in terms of, is there somebody suffering within the organization that needs support and needs, the tools in order to equip them to be in a better mindset in order to deliver within your project. Hacia has a fantastic background. She's founder of Empowered Women in Trades Group Australia, which is a very, women front-led leadership model, which I'm really interested to unpack as well. I know it's not in the States yet, but it would have definitely a model to be rolled out across the world. She's a high-performance culture strategist, speaker, leadership advisor. She is author of the Billion Dollar Blindspot. She's also got her own podcast. Hacia, I'm getting exhausted trying to get through the whole profile. Can you step in here and help me? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Okay, so we're going to unpack a lot of stuff today, but maybe give the viewers and listeners a quick 2-minute background in your own words of, I know you have a deep personal background in terms of construction within your family and stuff like that. And then also we know you had some trauma in your life as well that maybe led to where you are today and stuff like that. So maybe give us a couple of minutes on that if you don't mind, Hacia.
So I come from a 5th generation plumbing family. Our family came over from the UK to Australia as plumbers, and it's been amazing growing up in a trade-based family that has held the trades for that long. And I really grew up with the pride that the trades is what builds the backbones of society. Plumbers save more lives than doctors. At the end of the day, they make sure we've got clean water, clean air, safe gas lines, and all of those kind of things. So I kind of grew up in this naive bubble that tradespeople were the everyday heroes. And then once I went to university and everything and started being surrounded by academics, I started to notice this kind of bias that, tradespeople were almost second-class citizens at times and everything like that. So that was a really jarring moment for me, and trying to understand, like, an apprenticeship is just like a university qualification. You learn things, you get accreditations, you get different licenses in the trades and everything like that. So that was my first kind of eye-opening moment to, I guess, the division in society and the need to really speak to young people, particularly around the amazing career pathways that trades can give you. And that kind of planted a seed that ended up getting to establishing Empowered Women in Trades down the track. And I always wanted to work in my family business. Trades wasn't actually something that was necessarily put in front of me. And so I was looking more at the academic pathways. And I also was a high-level dressage rider at the time. So I overly wasn't thinking about my career. I just wanted something that paid the bills. And I was good with numbers. So accounting, that kind of was what was going to support my dressage career. And just before my horse riding accident, which I'll touch base on in a moment, the most interesting thing happened. I came back to the family business. I had all of my business qualifications, and my dad said, now go work on the factory floor and understand the trades part of the business. And I absolutely fell in love with welding. After a very difficult moment where I was struggling to weld, the welding helmet came off, the tears came out, and Johnny, who was teaching me how to weld, said, what's wrong? And I said, I can't do this because I'm a girl. And Johnny looked at me and he said, the metal doesn't know if you're a girl or a guy. The welder doesn't know if you're a girl or a guy. You've just told yourself you can do something because of the body you were born into. Kind of snap out of it. And that was just such a wow moment that sent me on a whole bunch of research, which happened because unfortunately not that long after it, my horse, I was training for my last competition to qualify for the World Equestrian Games. My horse reared up. I fell off, and she thought that was an amazing opportunity to do some role reversal. After all of these years of sitting on top of her, she wanted to have a go at sitting on top of me, which didn't go too well. I weighed 70 kilos. She weighed 600 plus kilos. So I got crushed and had to spend 6 months in hospital learning to stand again. Doctors weren't sure if I was ever going to be able to walk again. And I just really took that opportunity to really start to understand the psychology of why I was telling myself I didn't belong in trades or I couldn't work, do the welding because I was a woman, reaching out to other women to find out their mindset of how they experience the trades in a female dominated environment in the hospital, asking those women would they consider being a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, and getting their replies. And then at the same time started to fall in love with psychology because I was trying to learn how do I overcome the biggest challenge that I was facing, which was the pain of what was happening with my body, the doubt of whether I would be able to stand again, walk again, and then also just the motivation when you're lying in a hospital bed. The first 3 months was completely non-weight bearing. So to get out of my hospital bed, a whole medical team would have to transfer me. And how do you stay motivated and thriving in life when your glass of water gets placed a little bit too far away from you and you can't even reach it and need to press a button and patiently wait for a nurse to come and push your glass of water a few centimeters closer to you?
Wow. That's just after blowing me away in terms of a serious traumatic event in your life, life changing, obviously. And when you came out of the hospital after your recovery, what was your plan then? What was your first thing you did in order to execute the plan?
One of the first things I actually did was get back down on the factory floor. I was very excited to see everyone again and show them. When I first got out of hospital after the first 6 months, because I've had over 30 procedures, I wasn't walking that well. I was kind of, shuffling, still in the wheelchair a lot, still in the walking frame, but I was very, very excited to get back on the factory floor and see everyone, because from their point of view, I was there one day and then poof, disappeared for months and months on ends. Obviously, they were informed what happened. So it was great to get back out there and see everyone and be back on the factory floor. And that was something. And then the other thing was taking my dogs for a walk. So that was a big motivation for me in hospital, was to be able to get back out into nature, take my dogs for a walk. And even though it was only for a couple of 100 meters, before then I needed to go into my wheelchair for a bit and then walk more a couple of 100 meters. But those were my two big motivations: get back onto the factory floor and take my dogs.
Get back into it. Well done. And what about the academic qualification then? So it seems you went into leadership, strategy, behavioral based, emotional intelligence stuff. Tell me about that. Where did that start, or how did that come about?
So I had finished my Bachelor's of Commerce just before the horse riding accident. And in the hospital, I actually started studying my CPA. So I thought, okay, well, if my body's not going to work, my mind still works. So let's put that to use, and started studying my CPA. And for me, being in hospital and also, I guess, having the education that I needed from the psychology point of view to overcome a lot of the challenges that I was facing physically. I faced a lot of depression and anxiety in hospital as well. A lot of just lost my identity. I went from a high level dressage rider, an athlete that was running 10K a day, doing over 100K bike rides, Bikram yoga in the gym, you're a very active person, to literally a prison of my own body. So I went through a lot of psychological challenges. And so kind of did a mini psychology degree with my psych team, giving me a lot of articles to read and helping me through that. And then while I was studying the CPA alongside of that, I could really see the gap between, business education is very much focused on procedure, on finances, on reporting, on all of these mechanisms, on strategy that doesn't actually take into account the human aspect. And then psychology was all about how I reframe things. How do I find a sense of autonomy when I'm literally trapped in my body? How can I feel a sense of competence when I've gone from a higher level athlete to literally learning how to stand and walk again and feeling completely incompetent? How do I create a sense of belonging when I'm in hospital with people just take this pill, do this, do that? I had no control over my schedule. I see the doctors when the doctors want to see me. I go to rehab when I'm scheduled to go to rehab. The nurses wash me when they're scheduled to wash me. So that was that real challenge, because our basic needs as human beings to thrive from a psychology point is a sense of autonomy, a sense of competence, and a sense of belonging. And they were all very much stripped away from me in hospital, and it was a very dehumanizing experience. And so then when I started to come out of that and I started to recognize those moments of dehumanization in workplaces, and especially in the trade-based businesses, I really saw a lot of work that I personally did to make myself thrive in those environments and take back control in an environment where you feel like you have no control. And started to get very excited about how I can teach leaders to be able to create environments where we can make sure our humans in those environments don't feel like tools and feel like humans.
Yeah, no, I get that. So that's where you are today. You go into businesses and help them to understand where these areas are that they can make improvements on, where the gaps are in terms of, so how do you do that? Like, what's the process for, give me Gavin Coyle Roofing Company Limited. I brought Hacia in today to give me a total shock about how I'm missing the key signal signs and areas within my business that I need help with in regards to this whole problem, and just identify clearly the problem first, and then maybe identify your process for, number one, identifying the problem, but also then what do we do next?
The first thing I see so many people in identifying the problem is not being able to define what success looks like for them. They can define it by hitting $1 million, having this gross margin rate, doing this style of roof in this amount of time. They can define success in the metrics that you can put on paper. But when I actually say, okay, no, what does it feel like to be successful on a Friday? Or what does it feel like to be successful when you come into the door on a Monday morning? And when you walk into these meetings, when you go on site, when you look at your apprentices in the face, what success happens there? So a lot of people don't proactively think about the ecosystem of the people pillar. They can understand processes and profit, but when they come to the people pillar of like, when someone rocks up on site on Monday morning, how do you want that person to feel coming to work and sitting in their car on the way to work? And so many leaders are like, I don't know, grateful to have a job is often the first thing that's said to me as well. So defining what a culture feels like and looks like is very different from a mum and dad company that wants that family feel, that wants a little bit more casualness, maybe only wants to get to $1 million in revenue, versus a company that wants to get to $100 million in revenue, do a big exit to a private equity firm, etc., etc. So the high performing culture is very different to along the different ways of what the business looks like. So that's what our first thing is, just understanding what success feels like, not looks like, and making that transition in the leaders' heads. And it's very, very hard for a lot of leaders to say what success feels like, because they want to go to making X amount of profit or doing this job in X amount of time.
Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coyle Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear. Provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coyle-group.com or click on the show notes or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
If you don't mind me saying so, this is where I kind of struggle with your industry, if you like, in that I understand the need to define leadership. I understand the need to define a culture. And it's not that I have anything against your industry or anything that is derogatory in that regard. Anything that's going to improve people's performance and improve the business is only a green flag. It's always a green flag. But I think it is very difficult for people who are on the outside, such as yourself, to come into a company, in my mind, and to see where the gaps are without actually being in the business sort of pretty much full-time themselves, to listen to the conversations, to listen to the clients, to listen to the management staff and the guys on the ground, and get this sort of sense of, you know what, this is a family culture. This is the nucleus of this company. Is the success of this company is because they're a family culture. And if we can identify that family culture and values and we turn it up, maybe we can bring them on to the next level, or maybe they're just happy to leave it as a family culture. And that's the boutique about this particular business. Or this company is vultures. Like they're just going to.
Those ones you can identify pretty quickly.
But I suppose that's what I'm trying to. I'm sorry if I'm not 100% clear, but I'm trying to understand. Do you have a framework of, oh my God, these guys fit into that bracket?
So this is where I think I agree there's a problem a little bit with this industry, is because people come in with this framework, or they come in with whatever they've been taught and they try and push that business into that framework. So that's the problem. So I come in and very much open mind. I really make sure I don't come in with any biases of what I think this business should look like or where I think this business should go. And it's coming in from my point of view, and this is how I think I consult quite differently to people, with active listening. So who is the owner of this company? What is their vision? Where are they going? What do they actually want? And some of the key things, and where I've pushed back against owners when they have talked about how much they love the feel of that family culture, when I've spoken to all of their employees. And I also speak from the day one apprentice up until the CEO or the owner of the company. And that's the most important thing, is to talk to everyone like they're equal. When you're looking at culture, everyone's equal in the business, and find out what they love about this business. And some of the clients I've said, look, the key to this business, success to this business, is the culture that you have, is the family culture that you have. Now, if you want to push from your 5 million to your 10 million, you're going to lose that culture, because the growth you need in the team, the growth you need in the processes, the procedures, you have to start going from being kind of like the pirates with a little bit of just shoot from your hip strategy to the Navy with a lot of structure and everything like that. This magic sauce of your business you're going to lose. So maybe, why do you want to get to that push? Why do you want to get to the 10 million? And sometimes it's just misunderstanding of, well, that's what success is. Well, maybe that's not what success is for this business. So that's the key thing, is really coming in and active listening, understanding where the success currently is, then putting together a strategy that protects that success. And sometimes that isn't business growth, that isn't revenue growth. Maybe that business owner is very ambitious. Go, okay, well, go mimic this in, if you're a plumber, go mimic this in an electrical company and have a plumbing and electrical company at the same size. So you're getting the growth you want in your career and the growth you want financially, but you've got two businesses in the same size. Or maybe if you just want to stay in the plumbing company, look at going to a different location. If you're more of a local one, what's the next county or the next place across where you can set up the same ecosystem? So when you're coming and defining success, it's not necessarily going with what the founder or the CEO's mindset is, if the key to that success actually pushes against what they want. And so to answer your question, what I see wrong about my industry is they often have the frameworks and they try and push the business into that frameworks.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because seriously, because I wasn't trying to trip you up or lead you into a false sense. I suppose, this crack of coming up with acronyms and, we've got the FACT model, which I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's just, it sounds good, but actually, where's the substance? Where's the key substance? And one thing that you've said there that resonates with me is, just because the owner has their own internal vision of where the company is going doesn't mean to say that that's actually where the company is going. That's really what you're saying.
It is. And that's for the owner to make the decision as well. It's like, okay, well, if you really want to get to your vision, you have to sometimes let go of the company that you have now. And it's going to change very dramatically. Your culture is going to change. The leaders that you have in the business are going to have to change. And some of the things that you personally love about this business will die along the way of you transforming your business to get to your vision. Are you prepared to go through that? Are you prepared to lose some of the things that you love about your business to get to that vision? And that's the hard, courageous conversation I think a lot of consultants don't have with leaders.
We've seen the big four coming out maybe 10 years ago, and this was the big, because every now and again they have to come up with something that they think is going to be swallowed by the ordinary person in business, to sort of like, oh my God, I've never heard of this before, which is change management, which is pretty much what you're talking about. And it's their version of change management that you're talking about, but they obviously had to put this fancy title on it. But really what you're saying is, it's from my own experience, you're absolutely so spot on. Like, if you get over 5 million in turnover, your business changes in a way that you can't keep doing and delivering the same product using the same management style or structure, and you need to have a better blueprint. Otherwise, that little hill that you're climbing all of a sudden becomes very steep and there's no parachute.
And you see a lot of trade businesses try and do that climb and they go bankrupt, and you can't get there doing the same things. Some of the leaders in the trades in that under $5 million mark, what they love is investing in their apprenticeships. They love getting out on site with the new tradespeople, transferring their knowledge over, showing them how to do things, and that's what gets them up on Monday morning excited. And then they come to me and say, I want to make my business a $20 million revenue business. And I'm like, you realize you're never ever going to see an apprentice unless it's the Christmas party, and if they're standing next to you at the bar ordering a drink, you might be able to have a chat with them. At $20 million, you're not going to, of revenue, you're not going to be out there on Monday morning taking your time investing in an apprentice. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, or have the conversation with them and say, okay, which would you prefer, to be a $20 million company with 3 times the amount of staff and 2 times the amount of assets, or stay in the 5 million and increase your gross and net margin?
Exactly. And that's coming back to when I come in, is first defining what success looks like for that leader. And if success again is the strategy often sometimes isn't necessarily for the business, it's for the leader. So for that leader that I was working that loved investing in their apprentices and things like that, I'm like, fantastic. Let's get the business operating so well that you've got more time, and you could maybe even start looking at how you can go to trade school and do some stuff at trade school. If we improve your gross profit margins and your net profit margins, and you're getting more money out of this business, then you can take a little bit more time out. Or can we get you involved in consulting to the industry of how you actually improve training of apprentices and push back on the government on how they're structuring the apprenticeship? Like, that's your passion. And I understand you're ambitious, but maybe the ambition isn't going from 5 million to 20 million. The ambition is improving the $5 million business, freeing up your time so you can lean into advocating for better training for apprentices.
Okay, so let's start throwing in some curveballs at you, Hacia, just to, because we like doing that. What about all these marketing gurus, jumping on the bandwagon and, how would you say, robbing, which is a very strong word, but stealing, which is an even stronger word, people's money, and giving them the promise that, we're going to scale your business, and all this 10x crap and 5x crap. And, come join my program because we've have, this amazing, and look what we've done for Gavin. Gavin was stupid before this, but now Gavin is less stupid because he looks less stupid. We've grown his business by 10x. And, and if you're not in the program, and if you don't turn up every week, we're going to name and shame you on our Facebook group. And, because you don't want to be like Gavin, you want to be like Paul here, or Sheila, who's had this plumbing business, and she's brilliant and she's excelled because she listened to us and you didn't listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
So this is constantly doing the rounds. These type of marketing companies, and you're coming from you have your finance side of things, you have your strategic mindset, you have your leadership mindset, you have your psychology and philosophy mindset. What the hell is going on here, Hacia? If you walk into a business and they've got this, oh, by the way, we have this subscription service where we pay this guy X amount, 100 every month, because, we believe that we're going to go, this is all of our marketing solved in one. Talk to me about that industry.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting industry. And again, coming back to what your business has is unique to you. So if you're engaging any consultant, whether it's marketing, whether it's an accountant, whether it's myself as a leadership coach, if they're coming to you with a playbook and just pushing you into that playbook, think about it. How's that going to work? If every single sporting team played the exact same playbook, then how would any goals or anything be won? Because you're playing the exact same playbook as each other. If you're putting the exact same person in the exact same position, nothing's ever going to create friction, create conflict, create a winning. So coming to these marketing firms, and if they've got a playbook and they do this and they do that and blah, 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 and all of these kinds of different things, they're doing that to every other trades business in this industry too. So how are you actually competing against each other?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm, first of all, this just never makes sense to me, because I was like, well, if every plumbing business or electrical business is doing this exact same play, then how are you actually competing against each other in the market? And then coming with that success, when I was learning to walk again, this is what really, really hit me with defining success, because my version of success was very different to what the doctor's version of success was and what my PT version of success was. And my version of success every single day changed. Some days I could stand for 20 seconds, and the next day I was exhausted, so I could only stand for 10 seconds. But that was still successful. But every day I had to check in with my body, with my mind, to understand what success looked like today. That's the same thing with your business as well. So when you go into these programs and they're treating everyone the same and they're shaming people that aren't complying to their version of success, which might be consistency, showing up every single day, doing this feedback form, doing this, doing that, maybe that's how they became successful. Doesn't mean that's your path to success. So when it's cookie cutter, it's gonna get you maybe mediocre. It could get you a little bit of uplift as well. But when there is no flexibility and adaptability to tailoring anything that they're doing to you and your unique kind of essence of how you operate as a person, how you show up successful, then it's never ever going to be anything that's going to get you to your best version of yourself or your business to your best version of yourself. So I always make sure any programs you're bringing, any consultants you're bringing, the first thing to look for is adaptability and tailorability. If they can't adapt and tailor to who you are as a person, to who your business is and to what your business needs, it's never going to be a successful partnership.
And thank you for sharing that. I think you're spot on, by the way, for what it's worth. But give me some success stories on your side, if you can, in terms of case studies or, key success stories, why they worked, how they worked. Now that you've given us a flavor of, pretty much, it needs to be unique, it needs to be organic, it needs to be authentic. Can you share with us some wins in terms of how maybe people could implement the same type of modeling back into their own business?
Yeah, so I had a client, this is through Empowered Women in Trades, and they wanted to employ their first female trades person, which was very exciting. And the first thing I did was understand the why behind that. So why are you wanting to diversify your workforce? Why do you want to grow your workforce? All of those different questions. And we discovered it was because they saw an opportunity in the market through their own lived experience. They really wanted to be able to support and provide trade services to housing for women that had left domestic violence. And they appreciated putting male tradespeople into that environment could be quite triggering for the women that were living in that housing. So they wanted to upskill female tradespeople to be able to send a female tradesperson to these housing, which was fantastic. And that's understanding the reason behind helped me then work out the right styles of females to be attracting to their business. Because again, if a woman has come from a background of that could be triggering for that tradeswoman to put her in that environment as well. And that really helped me then support that leader to come to their male team to explain the strategy. They wanted to move into a new market, explain the reason for wanting to bring females into the organization. And therefore, the whole culture around there was a little bit of uneasiness about working with women for the first time and different things like that. But that completely moved out of the culture when they're like, yeah, this is a real need in the market. We can understand why our presence as men could be not well received in that environment, and that's really sad that that's happening. And then hopefully even what ended up happening after they brought more females into the business, a lot of the male tradesmen went with the females. Females went first, obviously explained that there was a male in there. They introduced the male to the woman in the housing. The woman felt comfortable. And that was really positive for the men because they're like, what an honor that I actually get to come into this space, get to do the trades work, that this woman who has gone through something horrific actually feels safe around me. And the feedback I got from the men was like, was their favorite work actually, because they felt really honored to provide a sense of safety for these women around men. And sometimes this was the first sense of safety these women were actually experiencing around men. So the female tradesperson allowed that bridge and that connection to actually happen, which was really, really exciting. The business grew. They then started picking up private girls' schools, like maternity wings and everything like that. So from this idea, the strategy grew and they started to be really able to dominate in markets where they wanted either a female tradesperson or a male that brought that sense of security and safety for the women in the environment that they were working in.
That's brilliant. That's a great antidote, a great case study. Well done. Congratulations on them too for identifying a gap, if you like, but also a very big trigger point. Like some things, I love this podcast because you just wouldn't think of, oh my God, they need women to do women housing for the obvious reason of women that have had trauma, and you wouldn't want a male around that's just going to trigger you. Like that's just like there's nearly a whole business in that itself. I would imagine as regards a niche business to support that type of an industry, where women can support other women, albeit that they're completely different ends of the scale. I'm a tradesperson, and this particular woman could have been a stay-at-home mother. She could have been working in the workplace, but now she found herself in a traumatic situation, and then that connection can be very powerful in terms of, helping each other out.
Yeah.
Like, I think, do you work with leaders in terms of identifying these type of opportunities, market opportunities as well? And maybe talk a bit about that as well, if you could.
And that's an interesting part, because the market is always growing. There's different things, and often in trades businesses, I find there is sometimes that generational handover. Your dad started the business, and now you're running the business, and you've kind of just gone, well, we always do residential housing, for example, so that's just where we go. But it's starting to look at what are trends happening in the market. So data centers, for example, are starting to pop up everywhere. So if you've got the skill sets to be able to do that, or niche down, like a lot of plumbing companies, it's getting harder and harder to find medical gas plumbers. And it's just starting to look at, if you're a smaller company, how can you really own a niche? So own a certain need in data centers. So instead of trying to do all residential housing, but you've got some really good qualifications in a certain way, how do you actually pivot your company to niche down? If you want to stay small, niche down into really owning a certain lane that's starting to happen, that is either getting hard to find people that are qualified in like med gas, or looking at what's growing in the market, which is anything connected to AI, data centers, etc., etc. Also, looking at how you pivot to more environmentally focused stuff, so roofing and things like that. What are certain add-ons that you can have, if that's in solar, or bringing in a different style of material to keep the houses cooler or hotter, or how do you be innovative in that space? And then looking at reoccurring revenue as well is what I often explain to tradespeople. So what is a form of reoccurring revenue that you can bring in to your business? And this can sometimes be even around education. So people that own homes don't necessarily know how to maintain homes, or know how to look for signs that maintenance is needed before something goes really, really wrong. So what is some kind of education that you can easily package up? You've got the skills, you've got the knowledge, you've got the understanding. So yes, you're a trades business, but is there actually like an education library that you can put on online? That could be a little subscription thing. So if there's seasonal things you need to look out to, every season they sign up and you're paying $10 a month or something. So every season they get their little video and their little checklist, go around your house, look for signs of this and this. This is the seasons where these things go wrong. So it's starting to think a little bit more innovative of like, how can I bring reoccurring revenue? How can I specialize in something and really own a certain lane? And then how can I look for expanding into different markets? Like that business was like, I really think that the female market for domestic violence housing is somewhere that person really wanted to support.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Hello, gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have, but in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build the channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business. Now, back to the podcast. Thank you.
Tell me, in terms of your future, what is your own niche focus for the next 5 years?
So my niche focus is really bringing a lot of what we've been talking about, is how do we allow human beings to thrive in male-dominated environments. So the trade space, but even a lot of male-dominated environments, I very much see that, and from my research, this actually comes from the Industrial Revolution. Men in the workplace are used as tools, as work mules. How hard can we push them? How tough can we make them? How much can we stretch them? How much can we demand from them? And we've really lost that men are human beings, with emotions, with feelings, with all of these different things. So my niche is very much let's bring that human-led compassion, empathy, understanding into male-dominated environments. I love working with men to help them find their own voices, because I feel as a society we've taken the voices away from men when it comes to how they feel, and they're allowed to feel like happy, hungry, and angry, and that's kind of like their public displays of emotions. And really start to work with men to understand, what does it feel like when you feel frustrated? What does it feel like when you feel overwhelmed? How do we communicate? What are the triggers that make you feel overwhelmed? And then how do we use positive psychology to bring down your cortisol levels, to bring down your stress levels, to make sure you don't get to a point of burnout? Because unfortunately, if you look at the mental health, and men often opt out of life before they put their hands up and say, I'm not coping. And that's like my real passion of, how do we create workplaces where men feel safe enough to go, this is too much, I need help, versus I'm just going to keep going until I can't keep going anymore.
Yeah, no, well done. I definitely come back to us on the show on that one, because we've had a number of really influential guests in the last couple of months talking about that subject, and it's just getting all too common as a team, especially in construction. And the more people like yourself that can actually get in and add your support and your guidance and your you're just being there to help that situation, I think the better for everybody, including especially construction anyway.
Yeah, it is. And I think, and sometimes I get hate from women from saying what I'm about to say, but calling out women themselves, because I see a lot of stuff when we come to Men's Mental Health Month and men mental health stuff. There's a lot of toxic stuff that women put on the internet about that we as women need to create a safe space for men to be able to start to talk about their challenges. And it's okay for men not to be okay. They're not being weak. They're not being little, all of that kind of stuff. So that's another big passion of mine, is actually calling out toxic femininity. We hear toxic masculinity a lot, but there is a lot of toxic femininity out there as well. And that's a kind of a big passion of mine, of let's come back to humans. Empowered women empower men, and empowered men empower women. We're biologically designed to support each other, and when we come together, we're stronger. So I just really wanted to call out that there is a lot of toxic femininity out there. And for anyone that's listening to this, when a man does open up about their mental health, don't laugh at them. Don't kind of, I know sometimes it can feel uncomfortable as well, but we just really got to create a safe space for men to talk about how they're feeling.
Yeah, and that goes for CEOs, leadership. We're not just talking about the general tradie on the ground. We're talking about everybody, all the way. It's indiscriminate, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Let me throw a few curveballs at you, because that's what we like to do, and we're coming near the end of the show, Hacia, and I'm really enjoying it. So thank you so much for all of your information so far. Knowing what you know now, Hacia, what would you do different in life?
Ooh, that's a great question. I definitely would have studied my psychology a lot earlier. I love the psychology, so I would have probably done a dual qualification earlier in my career, because I just think, understanding ourselves is the key to success.
Yeah, no, fair point. Fair point. Give us a sense of a point of interest about you that maybe the listeners or viewers would not say, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. Maybe it's a hobby or something that we wouldn't necessarily know by listening to this podcast or watching the podcast.
So the biggest thing that people find quite shocking about me, I think, I look a certain way, but I am someone that, I'll give an example. I was making cinnamon scrolls in America. I didn't know that the topping, like the yummy stuff that you put on the cinnamon scroll, was actually in the bottom of the package. So threw the package out. My partner's like, where's the swirly stuff of the cinnamon scrolls? And I'm like, I don't know. It didn't come. He then explained it. So I like raccoon style dug through the rubbish bin to find the cinnamon scroll stuff, which was clearly packaged up and protected from everything else in the rubbish bin. So I'm that kind of, I know I look a certain way and people might think that I'm this little princess, but I will raccoon through a rubbish bin to find something. If I need to, I'll get my hands out in the garden and plant my plants and things like that. So I'm also very clumsy and messy. When I'm eating, I struggle to get things in my mouth.
I love it. Brilliant. A favorite go-to place? Like, is it Australia? Like, what is the number one? Do you know what? I need to go there. I just need to decompress. I need time out. Where is that place for you, Hacia?
Anywhere near water. So for me, that is just, walking on the beach, around a lake, going to a river. Just water for me is that go-to place. Anywhere in the world, just water.
Lovely. And a favorite book or movie or both?
Oh, favorite movie is Gladiator. Again, that might be a bit of a shock when people look at me, but favorite movie is definitely Gladiator. And my favorite book is a book called The Alchemist.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, tell me a bit more about that.
So what I love about The Alchemist is this shepherd. He sells all of his flock to go chase treasure. So he thinks he's after this treasure to make his fortune and all of that kind of stuff. But then the journey he goes through is he realizes pretty much the treasure isn't the gold under the pyramids or anything like that. It is the self-development journey he went on, the connections, the experience, exploring the world, the person he became on the journey to get to the gold was the actual treasure.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. Definitely have it on the list here, actually. Definitely to watch out for. Hacia, your website is www.haciaatherton.com. That's HACIAATHERTON.com. You have another website which is ewitrades.com, which is obviously which is a great model that we spoke about earlier on in terms of empowering women in trades, for people that are interested in that particular area. But your main website is HaciaAtherton.com, which we will put in the show notes. In terms of any other way for people to contact you, Hacia, how would you like it done? Or anything else you want to add in terms of, people reaching out to you?
So I'm on social media. So if you're on LinkedIn, that's a great way to reach out to me. On Instagram as well is another way to reach out to me. But getting on that website as well, if you just put the contact form, that will come through to me as well. So whichever way is easier for you, if that's through social media or jumping on and emails, and then send through the contact form, we will get in touch.
Definitely. And we will put all those links in the show notes, guys. Hacia, thank you very much. Please come back to us again on the mental health side of things as well. Once you've done a bit of work or a bit of body of work on that, we'd love to hear from you. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. And the best of luck and continued success.
Thank you very much. And have a great day.
Thanks, Hacia.